Hiya, and welcome back to Personal Training Portal Podcast. We're on episode 71, and we return with our mini series that we've not done one of these for a little while, actually. I say we, it's me flying solo again. Lewis is still enjoying himself in Mallorca, I think it is, he's going to. So he's enjoying himself. So we haven't done one of these for a while. It was the series of what PTs suck at. We're not trying to say we were perfect. We sucked at these things in the past too, until we figured out how to get on top of it. So episode 71, getting paid, what PTs suck at. So I know for a fact that I wasn't the greatest with this at the start because obviously being a self-employed PT, you have to be almost a jack of all trades, master of none, and you have to do your own marketing, you have to do your own finances, some cases your own tax return, obviously do your own sessions, plan your sessions, organize your diary. You've got to be a jack of all trades. You've got to do multiple things. Maybe when you get a bit busier and more successful, you can bring more people in and they can take some of the manual lifting away. But at the start, when you're starting out, you've got to literally do it all. And so getting paid, obviously, this is a quite an important area when you're a business. You've all got to make some money from PT and handling your finances. If you don't have any systems or any sort of bookkeeping, it can get a little bit out of hand. If you're not keeping track of people's sessions and you're not tracking how much you've agreed to, that what deal you've come to, because some clients, when you first start out, you might have different prices for different people. Obviously, you need to keep on top of that. So I know it's getting paid. I think it's an area we'll probably all find a little bit awkward. Asking for money off someone, isn't it? I don't particularly like asking for money off people. Some people don't struggle at all, but I know for a fact you just expect people to pay you when it's due. Hopefully, you had a consultation with them, signed them up to PT, and you've hopefully gone over what your payment terms. Hopefully, you've done some expectations of when you expect to be paid, how they can pay, things like that. If late payments, things, whether they don't show up to a session, do you charge them? Hopefully you've got some sort of terms and conditions that is, if you put that in your consultation at the start. I bang about expectations a lot in terms of a consultation, what the client should expect from you as a trainer and what the trainer should expect from the client. It works both ways. So if you get that in at the start and they are late paying or they keep missing sessions last minute and don't think they should pay you, if you've given your expectations and terms and conditions at the start, they've could have maybe signed those terms and conditions to say they've read them, they understand them. Then you can say to them, but look, way back when we had that consultation, I told you that would give you some leeway on cancelling. This is the fourth session in a row that you've cancelled 5 minutes before it started. And I'm going to have to charge you for that because you're unable to train someone. It wastes your time from as you schedule out. So it's not ideal. And it's important you have leeway with your clients and work with them. So face-to-face business, and you don't want sessions to be awkward, but there has to be a point where you put your foot down and they'll respect you for that. So that's why terms and conditions are important, and setting them out early doors will be massive because you don't have to have that. It's bad enough having the awkward conversation, but if you haven't really, I don't know, said it out from the start that you're going to get charged. If you've never told them they're going to get charged for not turning up to sessions last minute, they're just going to keep doing it until you say, look, I'm going to have to start charging you. But you never mentioned that. Why didn't you mention that when we first started? I thought it didn't matter. That makes it a bit more awkward. So you want to try and set that out early to avoid that awkwardness. But remember, at the end of the day, when you are having those conversations, that is money that you're owed. And put yourself in your client's shoes. If they're self-employed or they have a business, what would they do if someone wasn't paying them? I'd imagine they might find it awkward, yes, but they'd probably be chasing them up. Within your rights to do that because, PT's your business. It's your bread and butter. So I think you just need to to yourself, put yourself in their shoes. What would they do? And you just explain that to them. If they keep missing their payment or keep forgetting to pay, just say, look, if it was the other way around and someone wasn't paying you for your services or your business, whatever your job is, you wouldn't be happy. And sometimes I think clients can forget that they just turn up the gym and train with you. And sometimes, I don't know why, but people just look the business aspect of it, that actually that's your bread and butter, your money to pay your bills. So don't let people take advantage, but don't be mean with it. Give a little bit of leeway, because we all have circumstances that pop up time to time, children, car breaking down, things like that. But if they're every week giving you a lame excuse, like the dog ate their car key, then you need to have a bit of a stern word and just put yourself in their shoes about it. In terms of losing track of sessions, this is really important as well, because if someone's paying for a block booking, it's really important when that block that they've paid for runs out, so you can ask for some more money. It's better that you ask them than they turn around and say, Pete, how many sessions have I got left? And then you'll look at them like, that's a really good question, I'm not sure. And it doesn't portray that you've got your, how can I say, you're organized and you've got a firm grip on what's happening. So if they pay for 4 sessions a month, or let's say 8 sessions a month, because 4 sessions a month would be a lot easier to track. But let's say they're doing quite multiple sessions and there's not maybe a set time. Maybe they don't have to use them within a month. Maybe they can roll over a little. But if you don't know when that is finished, that block of sessions are paid for, then they might be into the next block, and then you'll suddenly turn around and say, oh, actually, last week was the end of your block and you've done 2 more. It's just awkward. It just adds to that awkward nature. So just keep track of it. You can maybe get into have some sort of system structure. Whether you have them on direct debit would be a lot easier. Obviously, the only issue with direct debits and having people set on a number of sessions is if they go on holiday or you're off on holiday, then, that direct debit's set up. So it's going to take payment even if they haven't had all their sessions. How are you going to work that out with them? If you've explained, it will just fit them in around it. But there's different ways. Direct debit can be great because you're not having to ask them for the money or wait till they get the cash machine and give you it, or they forget, they turn up the session, they're meant to pay it, oh, I forgot, I'll bring it next session, and then maybe they cancel and you think, oh God, that anxiety. Whereas a direct debit, it just comes in what day of the month it comes in, but there is the con of if they go on holiday or you go on holiday or something happens, that you've got to then work out where you fit the sessions in. But if you have a plan in mind for that, you can overcome that quite easily. Charging people for this is one you feel sometimes as a PT, you feel guilty if it's just not turned up, and maybe you feel in a better mood some days and you're like, oh, don't worry about it, just don't do it next time. And then they do it next time. You think, am I going to charge them? Am I not? I've never mentioned it in the terms and conditions. Then it's, what do you do? I think it's one of them. You've got to be fair, but you've got to be fair with them. Everyone, like I said earlier, things come up, crop up, things happen. And if you're fair with them and there's a valid reason, and it's unusual, but it's out of character for them to miss it, then you should maybe give them 1 or 2 off. If you're doing it every week and you're not charging them, then they'll probably just start to take the piss. And if they see that they get away with it all the time, then it can become a real problem in the case of that they think there's no consequences to do it. And it can, me and Lewis did a podcast a while ago about flaky clients, and this can, I find, sometimes be a contributing factor, that if they're not turning up and you're letting them off with it, you're not charging them, that can feed into that flakiness, because I think there's no consequences. Whereas if you turn around and say, this is a 3rd session you've missed in the last couple of weeks, I'm going to have to charge you. Suddenly they think, that's a waste of money. I need to make sure I go. So just be aware that sort of not charging people for no-shows can feed into that flaky client syndrome, let's call it. And the last point I wanted to make is having no payment system in place. So when you start out, you might just take cash. You might just give them the bank details to do a bank transfer. The only problem with that is it's out of your control. You're then relying on the client to remember or to bring you the cash or do the bank transfer. They might forget to do the bank transfer and then it's an awkward text. You could have a direct debit set like I mentioned before, or you could have some sort of card reader, connects to your phone, And then if someone has a card, you just plug it in what their cost is and they just pay it there and then. They're different options. Or your system could simply be they do a transfer of cash, but you have some sort of reminder service. You might put in, you might have an email that you plug in their details and you can say at the end of every month to send out a reminder. If you haven't done so yet, it's payment is due for your blocker sessions, different things like that. There's loads of ways to do it, or you could just drop them a text and the last week of the month say just a quick reminder that the blocker sessions is due at the end of the week. Just a gentle nudge, not sending the bailiffs around. But yeah, there's the different payment systems you can have. Obviously, the more automated you can make it, it makes it easier because the client puts the details in at the start and then it just takes it after that. And then when they've made payment, they'll get a nice automated message to say you've received it. And it just makes it easier because people forget to pay things. And then obviously for a fact, if you have a payment system set up, you know when your income comes in, where if you're waiting for someone to pay you, they might pay you at the start of the month, 1 month, and then it might drag on a couple of weeks the next month, and just because they forgot. So yeah, so I think we all probably sucked at that when we started asking for payment, but it's really important in terms of you paying your bills and keeping you growing your business and keeping you doing what you enjoy. So I think if you take some of those points on board for asking for payment from clients, definitely make sure you have some terms and conditions, get them to read that, maybe sign them in the initial consultation. So you can remind them of it if it comes to that problem. And obviously it'll help with any flaky clients as well. I hope that helps. I'm sure we'll be doing another What PT Subcat soon. And hopefully Lewis is back from his loving holiday with his fellow Ironman. Cheers. Take care. Bye.